The At Your Insta podcast is brought to you by Comic Town. Check them out at www.comictown.net or search for Comic Town Gaming Center on Facebook. Hello, and welcome to At Your Insta. My name is Morgan, and I'm here with Dave.
Take two!
And Mike.
So, I want you to understand that this take two, we lost a little bit at the beginning of the cast.
About a half hour.
About a half hour. I have to start over again. And in the first part of the cast, I explained that I've been up since 2 in the morning because I went to the Cavs parade. So, of course, this is the first time this has ever happened. And it's literally like, how bad do you want to go to bed, Mike? Apparently, not bad enough.
So we'll try to kind of breeze through our community segment, go into competitive, talk about what happened over the weekend, and then kind of wrap it up very, very quickly.
I'm sorry for rushing, but we've been doing this for a while already.
Yeah, technically, and sorry about that. Not your fault, definitely ours. So let's get started. First and foremost, we definitely want to talk about the big mystery that got revealed, Emrakul. And this is even less of a mystery to us because we've already done it once. So it's Emrakul, a Promised End. And it is a 13 mana, 13/13 legendary creature, Eldrazi. And we are looking at Mythic Spoiler, and so definitely go there to kind of check out all the cards. But it basically costs 1 less for each card type in your graveyard, so can be cast for relatively cheap, depending on how you're looking at things. It has a cast trigger, so basically when you cast it, you gain control of your opponent's next turn. And then that opponent takes a turn after that turn. And then it has flying, trample, and protection from instants. So all in all, a pretty kind of tight package for the end of the Eldrazi Titan cycle. And definitely when we looked at it, we kind of all came to the conclusion that it was a pretty powerful standard card and may not have eternal implications in Modern and in Legacy, but certainly we'll see play in Standard.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. No, I think this card, I think it's really well designed. I love the flavor of it. Like you said, I don't know if I would say relatively cheap, but I think you could pretty reliably cast this for 10 mana or less. We'll say that.
Sure.
And if you compare it to a card like Ulamog that's currently in Standard, I think that's the closest comparison. I think both of those cards end games quickly in slightly different ways, but I mean, if you get to Mindslaver your opponent, they're probably not going to be left with too much to defeat your 13/13 flying trampling monster. So
right.
Yeah, I do want to reiterate how we discussed last week that beyond even what the card can do, how flavorful it is, and if you're upset about this because you're upset about Eldrazi and you're tired of the Eldrazi, we get it. This is our second time talking about it tonight. We all understand.
We're all very tired about talking about Eldrazi.
But I do think it's important to point out that this makes a ton of sense, and they, to Wizards' credit, they're playing this weird game where they're really proud of themselves, they got us all, and that's just stupid, and they know better. But they did do a good job, I think, laying the foundation for this and making it very flavorful. The idea of Eldritch being Lovecraftian, and Emrakul is Cthulhu, and if you haven't seen the expanded art on this card, please go check it out. It is one of the best pieces of Magic art
I can't wait
ever.
for this art book.
It's going to be great.
I already have it pre-ordered. I cannot wait to receive it. It's going to be sweet and well worth the investment. But yeah, I think that it is, kind of to put a kibosh on things. I think they did a good job of creating a mystery that people did want to solve. People just solved it very, very quickly. And even when you take a look at all the things that people had to do to solve it, even though they did solve it, with relative ease, it is kind of interesting to think that the things they actually did build into the Emrakul mystery. So, I mean, thank you, Wizards, for trying to weave something, very intriguing for us to try to solve. I think a lot of people solved it and were very disappointed when they got to the conclusion of it because it meant more Eldrazi. But you did craft it in a way that wanted people to find the mystery, and find the answer.
It's like a cheese maze, but it's not cheese at the end.
No.
It's just garbage.
It's just,
No,
it's
no, I
that
don't. I
sweet,
don't really
sweet
want to say
garbage
that.
maze.
I'm actually not negative about this, like most people are. I think that again, Emrakul was very logical. I do think there's something to be said for like being upset about this. Like means that you're also upset about the way they're going to tell the story now. Which I think if you've been a fan of Magic and have ever tried to piece together the lore, this is already much better. We're getting cohesive storytelling to it's not all going to make sense. Nahiri doesn't make any sense right now unless she's been touched by the madness. The Emrakulian vapors, if you will.
She's been helping that cool.
Huffing that cool. Emrakul. That makes actually a lot more sense now.
There you go.
But we were on Zendikar, which is where the Eldrazi are. So I think all of us were like, "Oh, great, more Eldrazi." However, we needed to go find Sorin. Sorin and Nahiri had this thing that was unresolved. Like we're getting characters, we're getting them interacting, which for a long time it took planeswalkers interacting. Either like in the old lore, they just died immediately. Like you're another planeswalker, you're a threat to me, I will kill you. Or they just didn't interact with each other. So. I like this advent storytelling. It would have been nice if there was some space. You know what I mean? Maybe if Innistrad wasn't set immediately after battle. But if this is the direction they're going to go and we're going to get conclusions to storylines, you know what I mean? It'd be nice to be able to work through this and then figure out what Nicol Bolas has been doing. Because all of this has been him, right? Supposedly this is his master plan was to let to see what the Phyrexians are up to and to let the Eldrazi out. Like, unless he's just like an agent of like anarchy, which that doesn't make a lot of sense.
So, this is Nicol Bolas is the Joker character.
He just wants to see the world burn.
Yeah,
He just wants to see the world burn, man.
Sliding down piles of money, lighting it on fire. It's
Like,
fine.
I think maybe Magic players are confused by like endings. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean you might have a conclusion? Whoa, I don't. What?
But what if you need to go back to that set?
I mean, well, then you just get in the DeLorean, man.
Yeah, just
We've
time
done
machine.
it before.
Just Dragons of Tarkir, man. Anyway, there are a few other cards that got spoiled. Go check them out on your own. We will obviously have more, thorough coverage coming next week when we actually get, actual full spoiler season kicking into high gear.
We literally have half a card that's spoiled.
Yeah,
but I'd like to
3.5
discuss
cards.
it when we have a whole
3.5
card.
cards currently spoiled right now, so barely anything to really talk about. But we will move on. So over the weekend here in Columbus, we actually had Origins, which is the lesser of the two Midwest game fairs, I would have to say. But Gen Con is so huge, it's kind of hard to compete with that anyway. But still awesome to go to. I think Mike and I both attended. And Mike actually attended on behalf of our lovely podcast. So I do want to say thank you to Origins Game Fair for extending an invitation of sorts to us to check it out and report back. So I went on Saturday. I cruised around the vendor hall and sold some cards and bought some cards. I didn't play in any events or anything like that. I was spending time with my father and my fiance. So that's kind of what I did with my day. So I won't have anything to report on it. But Mike actually attended for all days, Wednesday through Sunday, pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
I actually was down there every day. I didn't even intend to do that, and that just kind of happened. Yeah, I will say they were very gracious. There was a bunch of things that I had to put together, and they were very accommodating, and got that sweet press badge. Definitely, like on Wednesday, tried to go into the vendor hall to see if I was allowed to, and got told like, are we letting press in? No, we're not letting press in at this time. And I was like, okay. It was like the press.
The press.
But in all honesty, I don't know if we're the newsiest of news sources, but I do think for the Magic portion of it, I would definitely want to give feedback on it. And the one thing I will always say about Origins events, Wizards has such a small presence, even at Gen Con too. Like Gen Con and Origins, they both have D&D presence. But it's just weird that they just passed Magic off to a coordinator. Now we had Star City there the last few years, and it was huge. All right, I don't want to go all political on you, but it was huge.
Yeah. Thank you.
But when they were there, they brought in so much money. They were also giving out free badges to people. Well, Pastimes ran it this year, and they were not able to give free badges out to people. And I definitely think some people were bitter about that. And while I'm going to say some negative things about Pastimes because they just can't help themselves, apparently. I will say that was not their fault. And the player base, especially locally, seemed to hold that against them. I'm not going in to pay for a badge. And it's it's actually kind of crazy that we got free badges for 3 years. I want you to understand that
for sure.
That's not a common thing for giant cons. Everyone else had to pay a lot of money and pay for their events. So maybe take the entitlement down a notch.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, because there weren't that many players around, the vendors were all great. A lot of good stores were there. And the nice thing about Origins compared to Gen Con is where Gen Con has a lot more corporate presence. Like, you don't have the room for the smaller stores as often. But at Origins, a number of our local stores and vendors had, Pack Rat had a booth. The Soldiery had a booth, which, sorry to laugh at this, but they spelled their name wrong at first, so it was a Solitary, and they had to get a new sign made.
Oh.
Or like EDH MTG, who's a local buyer who a friend of ours works for, like they had booths, and that was cool, and you get to interact with people that way. But you didn't have that many Magic players there. And Pastimes had events firing every hour, in addition to pickup events that had prizes that were listed very specifically. None of their events were firing with 8 people, though, so they were running them casual events. And then when people would sit down for their casual event, the judge would tell them how their prices had been changed. Like, oh, well, we don't have enough people in the event, so your prizes are going to be now this many tickets and this many tickets. So it was before you were, like, winning a box, if you went 3-0 or 4-0 or 3-1. Now you were winning 80 tickets, which is 8 packs.
Oh. Well, that seems like a drastic drop-off.
They also didn't give you any of your entry fee back, though.
Oh.
You were free to walk away from the event. And when I asked the TO about this, and I said, hey, do you have this listed anywhere? Like, does it say in the event guide that they painstakingly print for every event that's at Origins that, if X amount of people do not meet this, we will either cancel the event or run at a reduced price? And he's like, no, it doesn't. I said, then how can you justify this? Oh, because we have to. So once again, you get Pastimes coming in, and honestly, like, I'm going to say it outright, cheating people, like flat out cheating people. Like, if you are afraid of like giving out too much prizes because there's not enough people in your event, great, cancel the event, right? Or give people an X amount of their money back to make it equal all around. Because at that point, we might as well just be trying to fire our win-a-box because it's still the better value.
Yeah.
So that happened so many times, especially across the first 3 days. I know they were firing Legacy Challenge events that the Legacy Challenge events gave you 2 buys for Eternal Weekend. That's a pretty good prize. Well, when they only had 4 people turn out for one, they were like, "Yeah, we run as casual. We can't really give out the buys." And it's like, that's why we're here. So we're not going to do this then. And enough players complained about those that I think they were still trying to give out the buys, and they were giving out packs to some events if people were complaining about it. But it's just ridiculous. Like, it's like all you would have to have is a sign up when you go to actually like enter an event that says, if this happens, this, right? And they just weren't. And it's very frustrating. And now I understand they need to make their money. They did a good job staffing it, probably too good of a job staffing it, because there were as many judges there as there were players.
Yeah.
And nothing was more true than on Saturday when they had the Origins Championship 10K. Right? This is a $10,000 standard event that had 46 players with $40 entry fee. If you don't have time to do all the math for yourself, it comes out to less than $2,000 in entry fees. So they were paying out $8,000 more, right, than what they took in, on top of paying, again, the huge judge staff. At least 3 or 4 judges actually tried to play in the event, which most of them did, which was nice. And a couple of the actual like Pastimes like employees who are TOs and stuff also played in the event. Which we could talk about the ethics in that, to be quite honest. But it was really interesting, and on one hand, I want to feel bad for any TO that loses that kind of money. And there were a lot of rumors going around, like Origins really wanted a large Magic tournament, so they sort of forced their hand on this one. So because people were expecting something, because Star City wasn't there. But I feel like Pastimes got their just desserts a little bit on this. They sort of earned a terrible event, and I hope they take that to heart. None of the people who work for Pastimes do I have any sort of grudge about it. None of the judges, any of these are good people. You know what I mean? I know a lot of these judges personally. It's not like it was any of their faults, but the higher ups at Pastimes that continue to like not put any forethought into these events, going into Gen Con, which Morgan and I will both be attending. Trying to keep this too far from going into a straight up tears grinding. But it was
we're already there.
Yeah, you're getting pretty close.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But it was just very frustrating to have, events be advertised one way and just not meeting those things and pretending like that's okay. Pretending like that's okay, and it gets. I told them flat out, and I will be like, I'll write to Helene about this, and I'll write to Origins as well. You know what I mean? It's very frustrating that Pastimes continues to abuse the player base in those situations, especially when essentially this is a huge down year for Magic at Origins. They had a chance to lift it back up. through poor advertising, and then honestly, poor interactions with players. Because I'm complaining and I'm a grinder, so you can say like oh, well, you're just looking for value. You're not wrong. I was very happy to play in this 10K. I was very happy to go 4-2 in this 10K and literally quadruple my entry fee. That's not a joke. I F&M'd for for $200. Okay, but when I have like literally played an event with a father and a son who were livid, right, that they weren't going to get the prizes they were there, and they're like, "Well, you're welcome to not play." And the guy's like, "I want to play in events with my son. It's not my fault you can't get enough players here to fire these correctly." And the guy's not wrong. Like I'm a local. These people traveled here to do this, so they've got to figure this out. And if they don't, then it's time for Wizards to really start considering other TOs, other ways to do this, or step in themselves instead of being okay with this. Now, granted, we can look at Moto and every other instance where they have a chance to do something. They won't. And obviously, they don't have a big enough presence at Origins maybe to even care anymore.
I mean, like, how much does Wizards actually even control that, though? Like, do they have any control about who TOs at Origins?
I mean,
or is that more like Origins is putting that
They
together?
could step in and work with Origins again. I mean, don't forget that Magic premiered at Origins. It's the birthplace of like
they used to
Magic.
They used to have nationals at Origins.
You know what I mean? Like, and like when Star City was there, like the last few years, like it seemed like there was a resurgence. Now Star City changed their dates, so it didn't line up anymore. And I wouldn't be surprised to see if in years coming forward, maybe there's an Open returning to Origins again. But man, it's sad to see these huge events where Magic should really be like. Yeah, when you look at the certain gaming systems that dominate these sort of cons, like Mayfair, and you have like like Settlers and all those types of things, and all these huge gaming systems, right? Vanguard was there firing an event, right? One of their qualifier events. I don't know if you know what Vanguard is. It's a card game.
Yeah.
Their event had no money on the line. This is the same Saturday that the 10K was firing. There was 200 people there. No money on the line. Magic had 46 in a 10K. Magic is the bigger game. Okay? So there's some sort of disconnect with these events now, and I can't help but think it's because you allow bad TOs to run them. So
yeah, I think I didn't even know about the 10K until like a week before, and that's only because you told me. Like, I didn't hear anything about this prior to. Now, I wasn't planning on going to Origins, and I didn't go. So maybe if I was planning on going, I would have known about it. But like a 10K in Columbus, I would think I would have heard about it, prior to the week before.
I mean, think about the planning that could have gone into, like, why aren't you running like qualifiers for this 10K? Like, win one of the qualifier events, right? And then you get your badge and free entry into this, right? And then you could have had like large tournaments that tell people about the 10K, so that X amount of people that play in the tournament but don't win still know about the tournament and want to go to it and tell others about it. Like, there's a way to do this the correct way. Now, again, maybe Origins did throw the 10K on them the week before, like the rumor was, and if so, then I do feel bad for Pastimes. But at the same time, that turnout is also because of who they are.
I think part of it is the lack of advertising for it, but I also think some part of it is definitely people didn't want to pay for badge and then also pay for the entry fee to do it. Because I feel like, a lot of people, they may not be going to see all the other games at Origins. Like if you're going just to play in the tournament, that's what, $40 for a badge, and then
no. I do want to point out that a 1-day badge, if you pre-registered, so literally if you ordered it Friday for your 1-day badge, is $20.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
$20,
so it's
$40, $60.
25 on site.
Still less than a GP.
Yeah, that's the point I want to make. That's a perfect point. The Magic players are also to blame here. Many players in the Columbus area who, in the larger Ohio area, were actively complaining about, I don't have to pay for a badge to get to this event. They paid $70 to go to a GP the weekend before, where it was 1,800 in Columbus, correct? Right?
Yeah.
64 of them cashed, right? But they couldn't pay $65. That's entry fee. Call it 70 or 75 if you want to include parking as well, assuming you're not splitting with somebody, right? So you don't want to pay $75 to get into the 10K event that had less than 50 people, where only 14 of them didn't cash. I'm sorry. You're just crazy. You're not doing the math. Okay? Now, maybe you're saying, I don't play for the prizes. I want to play Legacy. That's fine. That's noble. I get it. But if your reasoning was it's too expensive, but you paid $70 to actually, that you just lit on fire last weekend, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
For sure.
I didn't have the money to spend on either of them, so you know that was just that's my part of it. But
That's totally fine. Don't get me wrong. If you don't have the money to spend in general, that's a different argument. But if it's the additional 25 they had to pay to get a badge when you again paid money the weekend before, doesn't make any sense.
I think it's harder to compare a GP to some random 10K that they
Okay,
have.
and that's where I think the disconnect is. I
Yeah.
think you're right, but I think that's the
Well,
disconnect because GPs are conventions now. That's
Yeah,
what they've
it's
been
much
doing.
more prestige. Like you could plan. Like I'm planning on going to some GPs later this year. I already know about it. This one is like, oh
But
hey,
again, why isn't it like that? There's no
Right.
reason Origin shouldn't be like that.
Right.
And that's where I'll rest my case.
That's a good point to kind of leave off on. So let's talk shop. Let's move into competitive. So over the weekend, we had some WMCQs where we had some high-profile players win them, which is very exciting for those national teams. First and foremost, we had Owen Turtenwald win the US WMCQ, which is great.
Oh,
USA.
LSV, like I all I saw before you said anything was LSV's tweet. It was like what, Owen Mass or whatever it is. The
It's Oratsmus.
Ratsmus, that's
Yeah.
it. The holiday when Owen wins an event. I was just like, oh god.
And then we had Jacob Wilson winning the Canadian WMCQ, which is awesome for Canada.
Yeah,
Congrats.
He XNO'd that tournament
Which
apparently.
is insane. And then we have Jeremy Dezani winning for France. So, three very high-profile players winning their country's WMCQ and will have won the opportunity to represent their country at a huge stage. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I want to get excited for Team USA. So we have Owen and I'm assuming Seth Manfield is got to be. Well, he's the leading player of the year,
Seems
so he
great.
has to be the American leader right now. So yeah, we have Seth Manfield and Owen Turtenwald, the two finalists from the World Championships last year, as to start out Team USA. But we'll see. I don't know.
pretty
We've
good.
had some good teams, past couple years. I feel like, and they just always come up short. So
Well, I
Let's
wish
see.
them the best of luck, and hopefully we get a couple more hot shots there on the team and see what we can do.
we'll see.
And then over the weekend we also had Star City Games Orlando, and it was
Orlando.
it was a lovely standard tournament, and Tom Ross won again, went back to back Open champion Tom Ross with White Red Humans. He did make some slight modifications to the deck. He was actually playing Gideons this time around on the sideboard. I do know that. And I don't know the other exact modifications he had going for him, but
He's playing main deck handwear militia captain instead of council's lieutenant,
gotcha.
and yeah, that freed up a couple slots on the board for the Gideons that he played. That's pretty much it. So yeah, basically playing the same deck that he played in
Yeah.
Atlanta, and just ran it back.
Fair enough. We also had some other notable names showing up here in the top 8. We had Cherry Thompson again, Jeff Hooglin, Charles Gindy, and Danny Jessup. So some definitely notable names showing up in the top 8 as well. I really feel like Jerry Thompson's getting like so close to getting an invitational, not invitational win, but potentially an invitational win, but that's a little bit further out.
Players
But,
Championship.
Players Championship, open win. I feel like he's kind of hit his stride with green and white tokens, it being his deck du jour, as it were, and he's getting pretty good with that deck. Same thing for Jeff Hooglin as well. He was playing his Abzan season pass deck. Was it Abzan or was it no? It was definitely Abzan. Right?
Abzan, no. I actually really like this.
Yeah. You were actually you're thinking about sleeving it up and taking it to Pittsburgh this weekend.
Yeah, I started testing it actually a little bit this week.
Nice.
Yeah, it's sort of interesting. I apologize, pages are not loading for me all of a sudden. So it's like it's the Seasons Pass deck, but a little less all in on the Seasons Pass, playing some other win conditions. The main draw of the deck is 4 Sylvan Advocates and 8. You get 8 creature lands because of this. You get Hissing Quagmires and Shambling Vents, and you also get Sorens. So you have a way to capitalize a little bit quicker on some of your chaining removal spell hands. You're only playing 1 Seasons Past and 2 Dark Petitions. So it's sort of interesting, and like I went back and tried to read some of the stuff that he wrote about it, and sort of said about how a lot of the games get really grindy, and then you just like you wait on an advocate until like everything is gone, and you just play the advocate, and then you win in 2 turns with like 12 power of like man lands and advocate, and it's consistently true. I think this may be the best Shambling Vent deck that I've played so far, which, Shambling Vent has really been a crux, like, out of the manlands, it's been the one to sort of put up the best results, and, attacking with it as a 4/5 or a 6/7 is pretty disgusting.
Yeah. 4/5 Shambling Vet. So hot.
Yeah, it's real good. So, there's still some holes in the deck overall. I've really enjoyed playing the blue-red Eldrazi deck, but it's just really had a hard time with green-white tokens, and if you keep looking, we'll look at the metagame breakdown here, but I want to play against black-white control and even the Seasons Past deck all the time with blue-red Eldrazi, but it's just not a large enough portion of the metagame right now to justify it, and like I cannot figure out what the mirror breaker is for green-white tokens, and if I can't do that, then I don't want to take it to a GP where I'm really, really likely to play against tokens a ton. So, this deck you even see plays the spicy main deck Virulent Plague.
Yeah. That'll put a damper on those tokens there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of games where that card just like buys you so many turns. You just like that's the card that you turn the corner with. Use like Dark Petition for like Virulent Plague, and you're just like, oh man, now I can just like draw at my leisure. Like now I get to play a regular game against you, like green white tokens, where I just get to like kill your guys with ultimate price and then go on my merry way.
Right.
So it's been pretty interesting. So I like what this deck is doing. I don't know if it's like perfect. The Linvala has been actively bad in my testing. Like it's very hard to hit double white, and sometimes you can't do it without hitting pain lands. And like I don't know. I like the Dramoka a lot more, which is something that drew me to the deck in the first place. So I might actually just play two of those in 75. But yeah, I like where this deck is going, and you saw it. He had some mana issues against Tom Ross, but the deck, the hands where he just had Advocate and like Languish and just lands, they didn't feel as close. And even like game one where he had mold and was having mana issues, he was able to like fight back and literally just attack with Shambling Vents against the humans deck and actually break through. So it's got a lot of game.
Yeah, Hoagland pretty much dominated this tournament. I think he had one loss going into the top 8.
He had 2, but one of them was a concession.
Right.
He conceded to
one legitimate
Lucas
loss.
Kiefer, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he had a really good tournament. It just seemed like, and watching the coverage and stuff, and seeing him on camera a couple times, he was just really just easily beating people, including he beat Tom Ross in the Swiss, and made it look, like it was,
He
not really that hard.
5 game 3 against Tom and like didn't really do anything. So
Yeah. In the top 8, it didn't work out. He did have to mulligan and had some mana issues, but yeah, I mean that doesn't. I mean the deck performed pretty well, looked pretty impressive when it was on camera. Yeah, and I do like this list. It's kind of, it's basically a black-white control deck splashing green.
Yeah, for Sylvan Advocate.
Right.
And Seasons Past, which is a true mirror breaker too. So
right, but yeah, it was pretty good. It's kind of weird because Tom Ross went back to back, and if you remember in Atlanta, Jerry T had the 15-0 run, and he was kind of dominating the tournament. And Tom Ross beat him in the top 8, and then it's kind of the same thing here where Hoagland was dominating, and then Tom Ross beat him in the top 8. So yeah, Tom Ross just squeaking into the top 8 and then just killing everybody.
Yeah,
again.
It seems like. I do want to mention the metagame breakdown since we did kind of ring it up for day 2. We had 30 green-white tokens decks, 15 Bant Humans decks, and then 14 white-red Humans decks.
So as the math points.
Yeah, green-white tokens is definitely, probably the best deck in the metagame right now. It's very hard to dispute that. Obviously, other decks can win, and they're still very viable. But definitely green-white tokens is sort of the go-to deck, and a deck you will, going into a GP, will be facing down a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we say this every week, but it's still the best deck in the format. Even though it was only one in the top 8, you still
3
see
in the top 16.
Right. And it's a deck that a lot of pros prefer to play because it's so versatile. It can be built a couple different ways, but even just going from game one to sideboarded games, it can kind of it can cater to whatever matchup it's trying to beat pretty easily. So
Yeah, the one. So you could argue that, like Mike, why aren't you just playing green white tokens at the GP? And there's a couple reasons. One is literal access. That's one of those weird decks that it's kind of hard to piece together in our play group. Like Dave has, you have Gideon's, but
I pretty much have all the cards actually.
oh, do you actually? Oh, I didn't realize you were bringing them up.
I don't have like 2 Avacens. That's it.
Well, I mean that's $100. So, but in all honesty, the other part of it is it's a deck that I don't have any reps with, but it's a deck that I have a ton of reps against. So, in the time that I've had for testing, I'd rather try and find a deck that plays well against it, since I know how to play against the deck. So, and I know that's like sort of one of those corner cases in deck selection, but I don't have the time to learn the nuance of that deck to walk into a GP and know that if I day 2 that I can actively beat pros in a mirror match. But I do know how to play against the deck well enough that I think I could pilot a deck against it. So
yeah, I think that the mirror match would be tricky. I haven't played this deck either. But also, the sideboarding feels really weird. I know a lot of sideboard plans involve boarding out your Nissa Voice of Zendikars, which if you haven't played the deck, that just feels weird because it's one of the better cards, right? So I wouldn't even know how to sideboard with it, and I know sideboarding might be the most important thing with this deck because, like I was saying, you can kind of shift roles depending on what matchup you're playing against. So I mean, if you don't have those reps in. I mean, you could probably do well with it if you pick it up because it's just a powerful deck. But if you want to, really do well or be able to navigate a bunch of mirror matches, you're going to have to know the ins and outs.
yeah, and I just don't think I'd be able to do that in this short amount of time. So, and I definitely don't want to play something like Ban Humans. As much as I like Company and the Bant Company decks, Ban Humans is miserable.
I agree.
Bant Humans is also miserable against regular, red-white humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't really know what that deck beats, but it's cool. I don't know.
It can do some cool things, but
Do some
overall,
cool things.
kind of
Seems
miserable.
it's just slower than regular humans, and then not as good as regular Bant Company
Right.
as far as power level. It's kind of just a worse version of all these other decks. But anyway,
anything else from the standard portion of the tournament?
I did want to mention quickly Danny Jessup's 4-color right deck. They did do a deck tech on this.
yeah, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, so this is a sort of a version of this 4-color right deck that we've seen a couple times, except for now we see this almost, interestingly, starting to look more and more like the modern Chord style of deck. So you're playing Collect Company and Crypt with Right, and all of the hits. I will say Matter Reshaper is the card that maybe is a little different here, but Dustward Recruiter, Displacers, Reflector Mages, Dragonlord Atarka, and Tunahiri the Harbinger. Sorry. So what's interesting here is you get to play Planeswalkers, and you can ramp into this Planeswalker, which is actually turn 3 Nahiri is pretty good and hard to kill. But then you can ultimate and get a Tarka, wipe a large part of your opponent's board, attack for 8, and then if Crypt with Right, you can cast it again the next turn. And sometimes devastatingly fast. We've seen the Atarka sort of be adopted by a number of these lists because they wanted a threat that you could hit off of your Duskwatch Recruiter and then cast really early. But the Nahiri adds a different element to it, so it's kind of nifty.
Yeah, I know at GP New York, I believe, LSV and Josh Layton played a version of this that had Atarka in it, but I don't think they had Nahiri. It was just like Atarka because it was good in the mirror.
Yeah.
At that point in the metagame, these types of Cryptolith right decks were pretty popular, and that was a card that was just very good.
The same weekend where you had the Brood Monitor version show up as well.
Yeah, you don't even really see those anymore. But
you don't really see that many Cryptolith right decks anymore.
Yeah.
I think... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to point out the sideboard. Is that where you're going?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I like the sideboard. It's very streamlined. You just got 4 Reality Smasher, 4 Sylvan Advocate, 4 Dromoka's Command, 2 Negates, and Anissa Vastwood Seer to complement the main deck one that you have as well.
Yeah, and you can become much more aggressive out of the board, which is sweet. I also like that... I like how this deck operates. I like what Nahiri is doing in this deck. One of the banes of these decks is that once you have the engine going, like Cryptolith Right and a Duskwatch Recruiter, you never want to draw land ever again. Like, it's awful when you're like, activate this, and you draw a land for turn, because you just want to keep, like, churning out spells, and Nahiri lets you, like, do that. Like, all right, take up, discard this land, right? And I think that's, it's just another small piece, because, these decks have fallen out of favor a little bit, but the engine of Cryptolitherite and Duskwatch Recruiter is disgustingly powerful and left unchecked, and then you have Displacer and Reflector Mage to go with that, and just sometimes like you get underneath, you get under the knife with these, especially if you're playing like banned humans or even regular humans at times, or even tokens. You can just get. You just don't have enough removal to play, to play against the engine, and then you're like, all right, well, I'm gonna scoop it up.
Yeah.
And Nahiri plays well into this, so it was. I thought this was a unique build and something sort of cool to bring this deck back into the spotlight.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
for sure. All right, moving on. We do want to touch on Modern. That is one of our formats we do know. It was taken down. The classic was won by Jund, piloted by Hirotsugu Funatsu. I'm gonna say,
Yeah, I'll agree with you.
and he defeated Jeskai Flash in the finals. We also have another Jund list in fourth. We don't have a third place list because who cares who got third place?
So actually, third place was I can't think of his name. Who's the guy that won Star City Indianapolis?
Good question.
It was the Jeskai Nahiri deck.
Oh, okay. So it was
That
a just kind of
Peter Ingram.
Oh, Pete Ingram. That's right.
He was the one who finished third because I looked at the list. I don't know why it's not listed here.
Gotcha.
But
Cool.
but yeah, he finished third with the Jeskai Nahiri.
Nice. Jen list in fourth, and then we have Green Red Tron, piloted by Oliver Siebert in fifth. Esper Zur, piloted by Lance Austin in sixth. Green Red Tron in seventh, piloted by John Taylor, and then Elves in eighth, piloted by Matt Tammy. Yeah, Tam. Excuse me, Tamme.
I think it's Tammy. If it's pronounced the same way that Jacob Tammy, the tight end in the NFL.
All right, fine, Tammy.
Maybe he's related in some way.
I do want to look at this Esper Zur list. It's something that we haven't seen in a little bit of time. But if you don't know what Zur the Enchanter does, it's sort of the a bit of a crux on this deck. It says whenever Zur the Enchanter attacks, you may search your library for an enchantment card with converted mana cost 3 or less and put that into play. If you do, shuffle your library, and it's a 4 mana 1/4 with flying.
It costs 1 white,
Esper.
blue, black.
1 Esper.
And one and an Esper.
And an Esper. But you have obviously a lot of 3 mana enchantments in this deck to kind of fetch. You have Detention Spheres, Ghostly Prison, Spreading Seas, Steel of the Godhead.
Pretty devastating on a guy's Saint Draft.
Very much so. As sort of your go-to fetchable enchantments, and then you have things like Rest in Peace or Stony Sounds in your sideboard, which is adorable. If you really wanted to fetch those, you probably just want to cast them really early on in the game. But sometimes beggars can't be choosers.
I just think it's interesting, like the resurgence of Geist of Saint Traff, the card.
Well, yeah. If you look at the second place list,
Yeah.
the Jeskai Flash, it's actually just Team Geist.
Yeah, it's not really. I wouldn't call it Jeskai Flash. It's just more just a
Team
Geist. Yeah, Jeskai Geist.
Yeah,
I'm afraid no Geist.
man. And then when you kind of look at all the the 2 Jund lists in the top 8, you're like, oh well. I imagine they were probably pretty happy to see Geist of Saint Traff and be like, oh cool, I'm gonna cast Liliana.
Yeah, I know. I know Peter Ingram's list is not here for whatever reason, but he had a couple of Geists in his sideboard as well. So it is a card that I've seen more and more blue-white decks play.
Yeah.
It's kind of odd, but I don't know. It's
So I'm looking at the bracket here, and I will say pretty impressive. Our first place Jund list beat the Tron list in top 4.
Yeah. I fully believe that is a thing that could definitely happen.
hard mode.
I mean,
He has no main deck ways to interact with their lands.
that is pretty interesting as well. But again, it really kind of depends on what it gets drawn, and sometimes you can Thoughtseize key cards away, and then your matchup improves post sideboard. So that's just how the way
I'm saying good on him. Like,
yeah, no, I mean
God's work.
it's definitely not like out of the question for sure. It's definitely an uphill battle. I will concede to that point, but yeah, it's definitely possible. for sure. And like even post sideboard, you see like 2 Fulminator mages and then a Crumble of Dust. So those things are very devastating to Tron, obviously. So. And then I've seen some Jund lists that are like wanting to play like Boom Bust and stuff like that, and that just makes me sad.
Dark
inside.
Confidence, so painful.
Yeah, that's true. It's very painful, but it's really good when you're playing these lists are also playing Goblin Dark Dwellers. So yeah, that makes it worth it. But yeah, Modern still looking fairly good, fairly healthy. I really think we see some not common decks top aiding. Through the end, we have a whole different, menagerie of lists. We even see like Affinity showing up multiple times. Red Green Valakut, Living End, Ad Nauseam, Burn, Merfolk, like lots and lots of decks, which is really great to see. And it's really good to see, blue decks doing well. I mean, they're Nahiri decks or Jeskai Flash, but I mean, like, they are blue. I feel like a lot of colors are being represented, and I really feel like the format's pretty healthy. So hopefully Eldritch Moon, when that releases, we don't see any changes, and we kind of just see things continue on as they are and see where it goes.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since we've had a Modern tournament to look at. And of course, we have an Open coming up this weekend, so
yeah,
we'll see what comes out of that.
For sure. But I like where it is. It seems pretty good. I can't complain. I didn't even take a look at Legacy Classic, but I guess we'll pull that up and see who won.
I looked at it. It's a lot of miracles, man. A lot of Grixis Delver and miracles.
Interesting. Yeah,
but
I do see that Sneak and Show was the winner. Dan Savage, shout out to you. Good job. Sneaking in some stuff, showing some people some things.
Savaged them.
Defeating Grixis Delver, piloted by Alex Hahn in the finals. We do see Caleb Shear showing up, playing Storm in third place. Yeah, very, very surprised. And then in fourth, we have Christopher Heron playing Miracles. And then fifth place, we have Miracles. And then in 10th place, we have Miracles.
Hey, we have Imperial Painter in that top 8, though.
Yeah, that's hot. Is it the blue-red version or just the mono-red or the red-white version? Let's see here. It looks like mono-red. Yep, mono-red. No even plateau for some white cards in the sideboard or anything like that. So
it's got a Fiery Confluence in the sideboard.
2 of them. That card's so hot.
Man, literally very hot.
Yeah,
quite hot. Don't touch.
6 damages.
Many damages to your face. But yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad. I'm a big fan of Imperial Painter. It's always nice to see that the deck do well in Legacy. I really would have to have a confession to make, though. If I were to pick up a Legacy deck and obviously one, you can only afford one unless you're a psycho. I think I'd want to learn how to play Storm. I think that could be fun.
This is the Ad Nauseam guy. That's shocking, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's the only. I mean, you get to play Ad Nauseam and be like, and you get to play the game with Ad Nauseam. You get to be like, all right, let's see how far we can go.
Wow.
Don't hit the dark petition.
We've unlocked the weird side of Morgan's mind. How far can we go? Hit me. Hit me,
Nice.
Sir. You bust. Hit me.
Hit me.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I can't see you ever playing Storm.
Oh no, I would never. I'll never play Storm. What are you joking? Like it'll never happen.
You could
but
cosplay Storm.
I would also be very terrible at that. But I don't know. I think that deck looks fun on the outside.
And it's got creamy nougat on the inside.
maybe it could be like a Cadbury egg. I don't know. I want to try it.
Fair enough.
Anyway, I just think the deck is it's a deck that kind of always goes towards the same goal. It's very linear, but you have many options when you're playing it.
That's cool, man. If you want to expand your horizons, I never pictured myself playing the Death Shadow Zoo deck.
Yeah.
Pick that up. That's sweet.
Out of all the Legacy decks, I really feel like that one's just kind of cool.
Yeah, it's
Big
pretty
fan.
powerful.
Yep. Want to talk about another cool Legacy list? How about Eldrazi Post in the top 16?
Oh yeah.
How cool was it, Mike?
It was ever cool.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. For 2. So yeah, it's like a show and tell deck that also gets to play big mana. It plays Candelabra of Tanos, which it's a little pricey.
Thanks, reserved list.
And 4 crop rotations, so you can get as many cloud posts as possible.
Yeah.
To make many manas, and then it casts Ulamog and Emrakul. But I also like the Thought Knots here, so it gives a little bit of game in the early, and Warping Whale too, which is really hot. Like, oh, no discard effects, please. No, I don't like these. I'm gonna counter them.
Nope.
So, this deck feels like a little weird. It's like all 2s and 4s, but it's pretty sweet.
Yeah. I mean, people like playing 12 posts and stuff like that. It's definitely a not a popular strategy a lot of the times. You don't really see those in the open series or anything like that. But I know that Kenji, that's his legacy deck de jour. He likes playing 12 post
That's
decks.
awesome.
So if you've watched his stream and when he has borrowed that deck from a friend of his, it's very entertaining. But the deck has some definite weaknesses. But I think throwing Eldrazi in there and throwing things like Thought Not Seer in there can maybe shore up some of those weaknesses the deck might encounter. So maybe that's the new flavor of Eldrazi we see, combining with the colorless,
like mud Eldrazi.
Yeah, the mud Eldrazi. That's what I was thinking of. So
I mean, this is a very awesome crop rotation deck, and I
Yeah.
think that's a card that like I always have enjoyed casting, no matter what deck I'm playing it in. Like crop rotation always feels like it's doing like something really really cool, and a card always feels like it's exploiting a part of the game that decks don't exploit very often anymore, which is like really being able to cycle through utility lands. Like in Modern, you get Knight of the Reliquary, but it's not the same.
nah.
So, I just thought it was a really cool deck, and it can play a couple different games. And this man owns 2 candelabras, so
Good on him. Congratulations.
Whenever I see a deck like this that plays like really expensive cards in it, it's just like it's not like they're just playing some budget deck. It's just like they're serious if we're playing 2 candelabras.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, the only candelabras in stock at Star City are MP, and they have 2 of them, and they're $300 a piece.
Wow.
If you wanted a near mint, it'd be $400 a piece.
Well then,
So,
that is insanity. I'm never playing Legacy ever again.
well, Storm doesn't play candelabra. You're okay.
Nah.
Just plays Lion's Eye Diamond.
And Underground Sea. So
Well, I
No
mean,
big
You
deal.
can play Watery Grave. Who cares?
yeah, just play all the Shocklands. It's the same thing.
So I wanted to point out something. If we're done with Legacy, are we done?
We are.
So there were 582 people in the open.
Mm-hmm.
So that would mean that Star City donated $2,300
Nice.
to. I'm sorry, I'm going to forget the charity now. It's like Quality Orlando or
Yeah.
And they also had their donation box, which I don't know if they've made an announcement on that. I'm not sure if they will. They're not. Star City is pretty good about not sort of self-aggrandizing afterwards and like making a spectacle. But I want to remind people like that happened. Like
Yeah.
they did some awesome things out there, and I know a couple of players, including Mark Nestica, who didn't do well in the tournament. I know that, but said that they were going to donate I think 10% of their winnings as well. So I think there's a number of players who did pretty
I
well
think
in the event.
Metagame Gurus did that, right? As a team, donated a certain percentage of their
Yeah,
winnings.
so
They donated $10 per win
nice.
as a team. So
So yeah,
I think it was a couple hundred
had
bucks.
you had some cool backings and people sort of matching each other, and that it's just nice to see. We talked about it a little bit last week, but something that's nice to see out of the community, and no one's like running around on social media like begging for like their spotlight because of it. They're just being good people and doing
Yeah.
good things. So
Awesome.
it's nice.
All right, well, let's go into the wrap-up. So this weekend, we have a couple of GPs. We have GP Pittsburgh and GP Taipei. Mike and I are going to be attending GP Pittsburgh, and it feels like we were just in Pittsburgh not too long ago. So
Paying $10 less for a GP
that's awkward, but yes, that's also true.
in the same venue, huh?
Oh, yeah, and it was terrible. So hopefully this one will be better.
Speculatively.
So, I mean, it wasn't... so this one, hopefully has a hard cap. Also, it's standard, so less people will be there.
You're gonna have to check to see if they have the cookie stand.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably not there anymore.
No, it's not Christmas.
That was around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Man,
The cookie stand was the best thing about Pittsburgh
I mean...
at the time.
We'll have to stop by some of the eateries that we attended. I'm kind of glad because we've been there recently, so I kind of still know where most everything is, which is really nice.
I think we're doing something a little bit different than we have in the past. We're actually going to stay with my family
Yes.
in Northeast Ohio and drive in to not have to get a hotel. And I managed to convince Morgan to do this by sweetening the pot with an offer of sweet Swenson's.
Swenson's.
So-
all day, every day. Swenson's.
Man, I'm sad that I'm missing out now.
You should be horribly depressed about it. It is something worth being sad about.
I'm not that sad, but
Oh
I'm
no,
kind of
Wait
sad.
for the pictures. You'll be sad.
yeah, you'll be real.
I
Sad.
mean, I'm not going because we're having my daughter's birthday party this weekend. So just being a good dad.
Daughter just had to be born, I guess.
Just being a good dad.
Just look at her go. It's not even your birthday today.
Are you looking for like a gold medal here because you're celebrating your kid's
no.
birthday? Like,
No,
just
I'm not
trying to be
saying.
a good dad. You
No,
know,
I'm
not
just-
all heroes wear capes. You know what I mean?
Hey, by the way, while we're on the subject, Mike Seeger said a really good article this week about balancing
Family and magic.
Yeah, family and magic, which I appreciated because it hit close to home.
I bet. You and him, you guys can share war stories about having kids and playing Magic.
Yeah.
You
I
could.
have another one coming, so it's
Yeah.
it's going to be going downhill.
I didn't see this article yet. Tell me the title of it was Family Matters.
Probably not.
No.
Oh
No.
man.
Wasn't Full House either. Sorry. Now there's no video coverage for these GPs, so don't expect to watch them. Sorry.
Yep.
But you can watch Modern.
Things that make sense.
You can watch Modern. That's going to be in Dallas, hosted by Star City Games. So they will have video coverage. And that'll be a fun tournament to watch because it's Modern. Again, we just got done talking about how Modern's in a pretty good place right now. So, yeah. I'm excited to see what comes out of it. And then we already touched on this, but next week we do get kicked into full spoiler season for Eldritch Moon. So if it continues to be spoiled the way that it has been spoiled, we typically get a lot of the powerful cards early.
Planeswalkers,
Planeswalkers,
yeah.
Mythics, like heavy hitters. So I'm excited. I can't wait to see what we get on Monday. So we'll just have to wait and see.
What did we say? So we know Liliana for sure is going to be in the set.
Yeah, she's the marquee Planeswalker shown, and it seems like she's going to be, temporarily or permanently joining the Gatewatch, as it were, because obviously Embercool's on her turf, so she's got to defend her turf.
Which is weird because it's not her turf, but whatever.
Embercool, come out and play. Yes, Liliana's the Warriors in that situation.
Still not her turf though.
Well,
She's from Dominaria.
yeah, I mean,
She's
like,
not from Innistrad. Like,
but like that's her adoptive home,
Does Sora know about this?
Liliana can't really go home. I don't know. She kind of had a bad experience. She kind of turned her brother into a zombie.
I mean,
Kind of really awkward to go back home and be like, hey. So
the Raven Man was also on this plane somehow. So
yeah, the Raven Man is a really mysterious character, and I really wish that they would tell us.
maybe that's the mystery we could have solved.
Yeah,
that's cool. Whatever.
Like, what's going on with that guy? Like, what's he about?
So, like, ostensibly though, it's Tamio and Liliana.
Yes.
If Liliana's joining the Gatewatch, she's going to be mono black.
Yes.
And I don't think there's any way, like, the way that they've shown, like, Tamio, like, she seems purely mono blue. Like, you could, like, so many people have argued that she's, like, blue white, but, like, she's not helping for, like, justice or to help people. She's purely inquisitive about this. So,
Correct.
But they have to somehow design her to be different than Unraveler secrets because they can't have two that are so close. Because the last Tamio was 5 mana that had a tap ability and also drew some cards. Like, so I think they got to be careful with this. So
It'll be interesting. I think there's the very real potentiality that we even get a third Planeswalker because of how the sets are shifted.
oh no, I think we will get a third Planeswalker. I mean, you guys haven't heard about Tybalt in a while, have you?
I don't think we're gonna get a Tybalt.
That's Tybalt's voice. I want you to understand.
So he's Itchy from Itchy and Scratchy.
Full circle.
full circle. They don't get that joke, I don't think.
Oh shoot! I actually don't know which.
We've been casting for too
All right,
long.
we made a Poochie joke in one of the intros, and I don't know if it's the one that got deleted or this one. It's been too long.
It's definitely not. It's definitely the one that got deleted.
This is a different timeline.
yeah, I was gonna say this is that Berenstein Bears construct.
I was about to say the same thing. It's the Mandela effect. Correct.
It's unreal, actually. If you remember the Poochie joke, that means you're from Dimension A, and if you don't, you're from Dimension B. But you have now crossed into Dimension A.
Welcome.
Scary. Starbucks is spelled with a U here,
It's
and not where you think it is.
it's probably because of Emrakul. I don't know.
Definitely,
God.
definitely. Anyway, it's probably not Tybalt. We do know that from art and from the trailer that obviously the other Gate Watchers come along.
Yeah, but it's
for
not
the
going to be
ride.
Chandra. It couldn't be any three of them, right?
Probably not.
All three of them had walkers in Zendikar.
Yeah, probably not them, but they are there, hanging out and having a good time.
It's probably just Tamio and Liliana.
I mean, it's
It
certainly
very well
possible.
could be.
We got 3 in the last set, so
Well, so the awkward thing is we still have 5 from the core set, which is the last time we should have 5 like that. So maybe they only do give 2 because of that one cycling out. But I don't know. Maybe Ugin finally shows up. I mean, Nahiri's here, Soren's here.
I feel like we would have had some indication that Ugin was coming. Though.
Yeah, Ugin doesn't seem to give any care about what's
Yeah,
going
it's
on.
really weird. I mean,
He's just
definitely,
like,
he's definitely upset that the Eldrazi are dead. Like
It's
the other two.
Maybe that's what he's researching. He's like, well, what happens if we kill all of them? Bad, apparently.
Guys, we really shouldn't reverse the streams. I want you to understand. Total platonic reversal.
That's clearly what he's doing. Yeah, we'll see. I wouldn't mind getting a new planeswalker. Not new walker necessarily, but another planeswalker in the set, I should say. So maybe they try to do Tybalt, but I think that's a mood killer for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think he would have had to have shown up by now too. Like,
Yeah, they haven't even mentioned him.
So, bear
There's
with
no
me now.
art for him.
Bear with me now. Okay, Sigarda?
Oh, but she's an angel. She's a mana construct. They can't get sparks, as far as we know.
I mean, was Sarah never an angel?
She was an angel.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
she was a planeswalker. Come on, go on.
Maybe.
Come on.
Probably
Come
not,
on,
though.
come on.
We don't know what happened to her, though. That'll be
well,
an interesting story. Hopefully we get.
We've seen the horrific being that is Bruna and Gisela apparently combined together. Yeah, go read the story this week for that one and see that image that will never leave your memory.
Yeah, it's
ever.
nightmare fuel, guys.
Yeah, nightmare fuel.
Like the 4 or 5 extra hands that are just like trying to rip the chest cavity open. Yeah, that's cool. That's just not weird.
Yeah.
Real cool wizards. Thank you.
Thank you for
that.
this. Our direction must have been real messed up.
Have you ever seen those time lapse paintings of people who take like LSD and then paint themselves?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what R&D had to
Yeah.
do.
The art director was like, so how much of the thing can we get pushed into this? And apparently it was all the thing. All of it. Remember when that guy's chest cavity opened up and like ate other guy's arms off? Yeah, that could happen in this plane right now, all right?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
All right.
Messed up stuff. That's a good note to leave this on.
Yeah, let's go.
Just so you know, we do have ways to contact us. We do have, Twitter. We are just at @YourEndstep. You can just do a search for Your Endstep and we'll pop right up. We do have Facebook as well. Do a quick search for @YourEndstep. We have an email address YourEndstep@gmail.com. Those are 3 great ways to get in contact with us if you have any feedback.
By the way, we did actually get an email apparently in April. I had not looked at the email a little bit until I looked at the Gen Con stuff. And we had a really nice email of feedback, and I apologize. It was a very nice email, and we had a little bit of criticism for me refusing to say generic mana versus colorless mana.
Yeah,
so
get wrecked.
I apologize, but I really do like seeing that feedback, and it's helpful. So, thank you.
Thank you. We definitely have multiple ways you can download the show. We are on iTunes, we are on the Google Play Store, and we are on MTG Cast. So those are 3 main sources, as well as our website YourEndstep.com. If you have a chance, leave a review for us on iTunes. We do appreciate it. And while you're on MTG Cast, please feel free to check out any of the other wonderful Magic shows that are available. Also, you can also donate to MTG Cast if you do want to, give them some patronage. They do offer a great service at no cost to us and no cost to you. So if you want to, continue seeing that, it's definitely something that'll help them out. Continue doing what they do. We appreciate it. But that's pretty much everything for this week. We do want to give a final shout out, of course, to Comic Town. We don't have any events from them for this weekend, as far as I know.
But that Modern Classics coming up soon.
It certainly is. So get ready, get amped, get psyched. It's going to be what?
Get hyped! Yeah.
I assume it's going to be the week of Eldritch Moon release, if I'm not mistaken.
I gotta check the 9th, right?
The 9th.
Yeah, July 9th.
Okay, July 9th is going to be the official date, and it's modern. So you hopefully won't have to worry about picking up cards, which I know can be a difficulty for the first standard tournament of a given new set release. So hopefully you're already set with your modern deck and you are prepared to battle. So you can check out their Facebook page. It's just do a search for Comic Down Gaming Center for all the details on their modern classic.
It's a 2K, but if we get enough people, it becomes a 5K.
Yeah, so show up.
It's free money.
Come on. You know you want to. But anyway, that's everything we have for this week. We do appreciate you. We'll catch you next time. You have a great one. Bye.